Hello, it's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net, and in this video, I'm going to share with you a really common singles and doubles strategy mistake that if you can stop making this mistake, you're going to win a lot more matches. Now, this video is sponsored by playercourt.com. If you want to play more tennis and you're looking for people in your local area to play against, practice with, or even a coach who's close to you, use my link, playercourt.com/2minutetennis for a 50% discount when you join. All right, so let's set this up. This is Sergio. I want you to meet Sergio. He's one of my online students who lives in Puerto Rico, and he sent me this video this morning of him playing, and I asked if I could actually use this video as an instructional video on YouTube. He absolutely said yes, so I'm so excited. So thank you so much, Sergio. All right, let's watch this point in its entirety, and then we'll diagram it. So Sergio, don't feel bad because really, I would say 100% of club players make this exact mistake. Maybe not 100%, but 95% definitely. All right, so here's the point. Sergio serves. It's a short serve, so the opponent comes in and attacks. Now, the opponent hits down the middle, but let's be honest. It's not like, every club player in the world is able to hit perfect shots to the corner, right? Our opponents do approach down the middle. So Sergio hits it right to him, which, again, isn't the worst thing in the world. See if your opponent can volley. His opponent volleys right to him. Now, here is where things get a little interesting. Sergio hits a fantastic lob up over his opponent's head. Now, whenever you hit a shot over your opponent's head successfully and they're running it down, you'll notice Sergio is looking at his opponent's back and the opponent is running this lob down. The ball's actually in that green circle. Here's the rule. Anytime you successfully lob over your opponent's head and they're chasing it down, you need to immediately move to the service line. This is written in stone. And in fact, I'm going to be a little more specific. Put your toes on the service line so you can rob your opponent of time on the next shot. Now watch what happens. His opponent runs completely back to the fence and Sergio stays at the baseline. Watch as his opponent's running. Look at Sergio. He's still behind the baseline. So he's giving his opponent more time on the next shot that Sergio is going to hit because the ball's going to take longer to get to Sergio. So Sergio moves in and tries to hit a drop shot, but at that point, the opponent has already started running forward because he's having to come forward anyway from the fence. He's running up, so he just keeps running. And then this is actually a really nice shot. What I tell my students is whenever you run forward, hit your passing shots down the line. And he absolutely does that. It's usually wide open. So here's the rule. And Sergio, this is going to help you greatly. Anytime you hit the ball, combine movement with the shot. So when you're planning on lobbing over your opponent's head, connect that, hey, if this is successful, I'm going to move to the service line. So with putting your toes on the service line. So he lobs over the opponent, but he stands behind the baseline. That's like playing baseball, hitting the baseball and just standing there in the batter's box and not running to first base. Like you want to connect movement with your shot. So the opponent's running back. Sergio should be hitting the ball right now because that's where the ball is over the service line. And he could hit that little drop volley and the opponent wouldn't have the time to run that down. But let's look. Let's see how much time. And actually, he could have hit that ball a little sooner. He could have hit that ball here if he had gone forward from the service line. So let's set a timer and how long it takes now for Sergio to hit the ball. And this is the extra time that the opponent had. So he has 2/3 of a second extra to run this ball down. And if Sergio had come closer to the net, he could have hit a sharper angle, which would have given the opponent less time and a farther distance to run. But he goes for the drop shot, but it's just way too much time. The opponent has all the time he needs to set his feet and then hit the pass. So when you lob over your opponent's head, don't just stand and watch. Quickly move to the service line to rob them of the time they would need to get your next shot.
So once again, Sergio, thank you so much for letting me use that video. We're talking about singles here, but it's also for doubles. It's the exact same thing. When you lob over your opponent, you want to put your toes on the service line. And this is what we saw Sergio not do, but it isn't just Sergio. It's the vast majority of tennis players. They lob and they watch. And I would say the 5% who don't get too close to the net. So here it was. Sergio, the short serve, the opponent came in, he followed up. Sergio actually did a good job of just making the volley or hit a volley. I'm a big fan of don't assume that your opponent is John McEnroe or Martina Navratilova coming to the net. You're not playing a pro tennis player, so make them volley. Not a lot of players are comfortable hitting volleys, so give them a volley. Put it on their body. If you can get it to their body, especially low, that'd be a great thing. The volleyer hit it, basically right back to Sergio. He got pretty close to the net. That's when Sergio hit that great lob. And the opponent, what I loved about the opponent is he just turned and sprinted. He just ran. Now, as he was running back, that's when we want to see Sergio make this move. I used to say go to the service line, but that wasn't specific enough. And you would think it would be, right? You're like, well, what else could it be? When you tell somebody, in my experience as a coach for 25 years, when you tell someone to go to the service line, they don't go to the service line. They go somewhere near the service line. It's a very specific, topic here or thought. Go to the service line. So what I started saying a few years ago was put your toes on the service line. And then they thought, because that's very specific. And then they go, on the service line. Because I get people who go 10 feet in front of the service line, which is too close. And then the next shot actually goes over their head for a winner because they moved in. And I said, you got to go to the service line. They'll say, I did. I'm like, no, you were super close to the net. So I started saying go or put your toes on the service line and what a difference that made. And in doubles, it's the same thing. When you lob over your opponent, put your toes on the service line. Every single time you hit a ball, you want to combine movement with that shot. So before you ever hit a ball, you should know, okay, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go if I'm successful? And if I'm not successful, right? So if the opponent is up and you attempt a lob and you end up lobbing it right to them and they're going to crush an overhead, of course you don't put your toes on the service line. This is for when you lob and it goes over their heads and they're running it down. So if you're going to hit or attempt a lob over your opponent's head, then know what you're going to do if you are successful and if you're not successful. If you're not successful getting it over their head and they're going to crush an overhead, you stay back. If you are successful, then you're going to put your toes on the service line, because what would happen then is that next ball, he could have moved forward, knocked off a little, angle volley, the opponent's still back at the baseline, and you wouldn't have had time to get back into the point. Anytime you lob successfully over your opponent's head and they're running it down, quickly move forward, put your toes on the service line, do your best to get that next ball out of the air, maybe volley it into the open court, maybe hit a little drop volley. And if you do, there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.